Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another one of my Dota 2 Hero Guides. Today we're going to be taking a look at Tiny's build for patch 7.31b, and if you saw my tier lists, Tiny was at the top of the list. He was the lone S tier carry, so we're going to be taking a look at the item build and the skill build for carry Tiny, but I'm also briefly going to touch on mid Tiny and support Tiny because Tiny's been so popular. He's so good this patch that he's also played in those roles as well. I'm not going to focus on them, but I'm just going to briefly go over them at the end of the video. But yeah, let's just jump into it. First, you can see here, I am at the Tortellini guide. There's also an Immortal Faith guide. I think I would suggest for pretty much everybody around, Ancient or below, you should probably just follow the in-game guide, especially if you're learning how to play the hero. The other option, if you don't want to do that and you kind of want to see what the pros are building, or you think, maybe one of these guides is outdated, you should go to Dota2ProTracker.com. That's where you can see what all the pros are building in their pubs based on the hero and the role, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go over this here based on what you can see in the game. And these are pretty good guides because they generally follow the meta, especially a few weeks after, updates. They will get updated and usually track what the popular build is. So this is the Tortellini guide, and this is pretty much on point here for carry Tiny. So you're almost always going to be wanting to get tree grab first. I mean, it's pretty much just not really an option to get anything else. You could potentially go for some weird toss play, I guess, if you wanted to toss somebody under tower. But as a carry, that's not really an option. What you want to be doing is you want to be playing for CS. You want to be playing the lane to get your farm. And so this tree is kind of like a mini metamorphosis for Terrorblade. It's like a little thing that makes you stronger for a short period of time because you do way more damage, and you can even harass the enemy if that's an option. And so that's what you want to be thinking about. How am I going to use this tree grab level 1 in the wave, the first two waves in that first level? Are you going to need to secure CS with it because you kind of need to out damage the enemy, or can you kind of use it to harass the enemy a lot, but you can secure CS even without the tree, or kind of in combination? So that's what you want to think about. Can I be aggressive? Can I use this to harass, or do I need to use it to secure CS? And then you're kind of going to get 1 point in Avalanche and 1 point in Toss. Usually you want to get Avalanche first just because it's a larger AoE stun. It's pretty reliable. You can also get range creeps from afar, which is really good on carry Tiny. So you can kind of use it from further away. It stuns. It also does a lot of damage to the range creep to secure range creeps. So that's usually what you're going to get level 2. And then you're going to pretty much max out tree grab, getting another point in Toss at level 4 here. And you're going to max out tree grab because this is what allows you to farm. It allows you to push the wave out, clear the wave, and then transition into the jungle and get those jungle stacks, or even just jungle camps in general, and clear those and get your farm and ramp it up. Then from there, you're obviously going to take your ultimate at level 6. This is pretty good just for extra damage, all the kinds of things that your ultimate provides you. So you always want to be getting that at level 6. And then after tree grab is maxed out, you want to max out Avalanche. And the reason for this is that basically when you do Avalanche Toss, you get double the damage of the Avalanche when you toss somebody. But if you maxed Toss, you don't get double the toss damage. So basically you just do more damage by maxing Avalanche first. So it just scales and ramps up your damage more. Really, the toss levels are not that great. It does more damage, sure, and the cast range is increased, but there's not really much else that's important. Yeah, the cooldown's better, but the mana cost goes up. So toss levels are really not that great. So that's why you're going to be wanting to max out Avalanche next. And then finally, you're going to max out Toss last. And then obviously get your ultimate at every moment that you can. Every level that you're allowed to get your ultimate, you want to be getting your ultimate. And then for the talents, basically we can see the talents here. This is kind of what Tortellini suggests for the talents, is that you want to be going 10 strength, then at 10, 40% plus 40% grow bonus damage with tree at 15, and then status resistance at level 20, and then the avalanche cooldown at level 25. And this is all pretty standard here because the strength, you just do more damage, so you're able to be tankier, you're doing more damage, you're farming faster at level 10. Then the bonus damage, because you're a carry and you will eventually get the shard, which I'll talk about with the items here in a second. Since you're getting that shard, you're going to want to do even more damage with the tree rather than that magic damage avalanche damage at the other option on 15. And then toss requiring no target. That's more of like an initiation support kind of thing where you kind of, jump in, you toss people back, all this kind of stuff. You're not really going to be doing that as carry tiny. So you want the status resistance. That can be really good. And then the 2 toss charges, that would kind of be something that you would want to get along with toss requires no target, those kinds of things. It could potentially be an option even late game as a carry because you could, stun lock people. So it's not necessarily that you have to go for the avalanche cooldown, but it just generally is really good to get that stun and damage in with that avalanche cooldown because you can have that up a lot because the cooldown at max level is 14. And then with the talent, that's a really, really short cooldown. That's 6 seconds. That's kind of insane here for a stun that does that much damage. So that's pretty much the build. You're not really going to mix up the build too much here. I think this this skill build is pretty straightforward, pretty simple for carry tiny. So let's move on to the items. Starting items. Now, starting items are kind of weird in this patch. There's a lot of different metas. There's what pro players do, but I would say generally don't just copy what the pros do for starting items because a lot of times, especially as a carry, they're going to be relying on their 5 position to feed themselves. So I would, I like these items. I would just potentially maybe skip a Fairy Fire. You're probably not going to buy Ward 2, let your supports buy that. I would probably skip Fairy Fire, and I think you have enough for a salve here with Tango, 2 branch, Quelling Blade salve. I don't really think you're going to be buying bracers on this hero, so buying those bracer components are not really, needed, and you have enough damage with your tree grab that you're going to be getting level 1 that you don't really need all those extra stats for last hitting or competing with last hits. So that's why I would recommend getting this. I would recommend just getting a salve, even though it's not, technically meta. You can't always rely on your 5 position to feed you salves in your games, in your MMR. It doesn't even happen in my MMR all the time. So, I would just make sure that you are securing your regen. And then next, from here, it's pretty straightforward in the lane. You're going to be going probably boots. You're probably going to go wand and boots, depending on the order, depending on the matchups. That's something for you to decide as you play tiny. But you're probably going to, want to complete wand, get a stick, complete wand, get your boots of speed. Those are probably the first 2 things you're going to complete. And then you're going to complete your treads after you get these 2. And then you're going to go into your Echo Saber pretty much every single game. So you're going to get your Echo Saber. You're going to be able to farm pretty quickly. And what you want to do then is you want to time your shard at 15 minutes exactly. So whatever the items are that you can get before then, you want to have enough gold, that 1400 gold, to buy your shard at exactly 15 minutes because that ramps up your farm really well. It also allows you to, take towers really well, participate in team fights. It just makes your hero so much stronger in general that you don't have to worry about that tree cooldown or the tree hits that you have. So it's just so good. You want to time that perfectly. Usually you can get at least Echo Saber before that. Sometimes you can even get Echo Saber, and then one of the components to your Shadow Blade before you get Agnum Shard, but you always want to get it at exactly 15 minutes. Then you're pretty much always going to go Shadow Blade into Silver Edge. I would pretty much say you almost always want to do that. Don't go Blink on this hero as a carry. I think it's just not that great. It's situational. It can be good, but I think it's just better to overall go damage and just use your team kind of as meat shields, and they should initiate largely, and you can initiate with Shadow Blade. It's just so much better to have this on the hero than Blink. And then you're going to go BKB, and this is pretty much the standard item build. Once you have these items, you hit like a truck, you're so hard to kill, you're super tanky, and then from there, you can kind of just go whatever you need in the lane, or in the game in general, based on matchups. Can you get more minus armor and attack speed to just cleave down buildings, kill people? Is that what you need? Do you feel like you're just not hitting fast enough? Do you potentially need a dispel for some kind of silence, or for, not just having to pop BKB every time you're silenced or something like that? Get a Satanic. It also allows you to, regen up really quick. Is there a lot of evasion that you need to, cleave through evasion, like there's a PA or something like that? And then Moonshard is kind of just a luxury last item. I would suggest getting kind of one of these items before getting Moonshard, but Moonshard could be one of those last items. I don't really need anything else. I'm survivable the way I am, and I'm just going to try to hit as fast as possible because I want to do the most damage possible. And then that's pretty much how you build Tiny. From there, you can kind of get whatever items you want, maybe eventually get Boots of Travel, replace your, Power Treads, those kinds of things. And that is pretty much the Tiny build for carry. And it's really good. That's what makes him so good this patch. He can do so much with like only a few items here. Very, very powerful. Now, I will just move on very, very briefly to the mid Tiny. If we see this Immortal Faith mid guide, the difference here is you're going to be maxing out Avalanche instead of Tree Grab. You're going to get Tree Grab level 1. And that's largely because you still want it for the lane, for securing CS, all those kinds of things. But then you're maxing out Avalanche because the main way that you're going to be using this hero, after the laning stages, you're going to be rotating around, ganking people, doing a lot of damage, bursting people down because you're going to get a lot of levels at the mid lane, and then you're going to just combo people down so quickly and so effectively that there's pretty much no hero in the game that can stand this combo early on. So that's one of the main differences. Otherwise, I think your build is almost exactly the same. The only real difference is that you potentially want to get Blink instead of Shadowblade, and you might even go Blink before Echo Saber because, you're going to be rotating around. You want to, combo people with the Avalanche, and getting Blink first or maybe second after Echo Saber, but you still want to get the Aghanim Shard at 15 minutes, but, it just depends on the game, but Blink is just really, really good for initiating all those kinds of things because you're gonna have another carry, that's going to be the one that's farming while you're making all the space, but you're doing a ton of damage, and you kind of can transition into a carry yourself anyway, and that's the main difference for the item build there. And then lastly, we can just look at the roamer. Basically, the only real difference here, it's almost played exactly like mid lane, except you're not going to get tree grab early. You're going to max it out late. You don't really use this that much. You're going to use toss level 1 to try to do some kind of weird toss combo, toss people under tower, toss people back, all that kind of weird stuff. And then you're going to max avalanche, get a bunch of points in toss. Eventually, you can get tree grab and then get your shard. That's definitely an option eventually, but you're mainly going to be playing this hero as kind of an initiation bursting hero with a lot of toss damage, taking toss talents, these kinds of things, and using that to get people out of position and burst them down. So that is how to play all of the different positions for Tiny. That's carry, mid, and support. So I hope this guide was helpful for you guys to understand how to build Tiny, both skills and items in patch 7.31b. So thanks everybody for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. Join the Discord if you haven't already to request replay reviews. We also do community days every Saturday. Go to my Patreon if you haven't already if you want to request coaching or just support me in general to see more videos like this. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.